Last minute additions to the outfit. Coming! Hi!
Hello!
Welcome!
How are you?
Good to see you. You look so cute.
Straight off the plane.
Oh my god. Look how cute
Hi.
she looks. Let's do this. All right, cheers. Let's
Cheers.
Welcome to my humble abode.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome back to another episode of Rodeo After Hours. I'm Lindsay Perper.
And I'm Olivia Duncan.
And cheers, we just launched our first episode.
I know, so excited.
That was exciting. But I learned a few things, okay? I am going to talk 1.3 times faster than I currently do. I'm going to stop saying likes. I'm going to stop saying hums. And I actually learned that there's a reason when I listened to the Spotify version of that first episode that I felt so legit. And it's because our producer, must have sped up my voice at least 1.1, 1.2 times. And so thank you, for doing that.
You didn't? No.
She must have. No, it's definitely sped up.
Her voice was faster. No?
She did. Don't let her lie to you.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, so I am really excited about how the launch of our first episode went.
Yes,
And I'm super excited for today's guest.
Yes, Miss Paula.
Paula Dhier.
So excited.
And we actually organically met Paula through Rodeo. And I remember she was an early waitlister. And I saw her on the list and I go to her page and I was just like, oh my God, why does she want to be on Rodeo? Like, she's so cool.
Yes.
And we had a first chat, and from the very beginning, she just had something like so sophisticated, and like her personal branding was on point, and her site and her, she has such a history, which we'll get into, of how she's built her career to today.
I'm really interested to ask her too, knowing now that she joined the waitlist and that's how you guys met, like that's how we met. And I'm really interested to see like what her drive or like what made her sign up for the waitlist and like then what she loved about it and like how it relates to like my experience and what I saw and everything.
Another cool thing about today is we're actually all going with Paula down to a photo shoot. Nicole Pittiger, the designer of One Piece Design. We are all going with Paula, with you, the whole production team, down to this photo shoot. And again, I just want to emphasize how powerful this like collaborative, creative community is. And I'm super excited to keep growing that. And what's so interesting is that like Paula was one of the first people that really kind of not force is the wrong word, but I'm just going to use it for lack of better word, but like really forced us to like lean into understanding the power of this community and what each creator can kind of do for each other and how like that is the ecosystem network effect that we're trying to build. So should we get it started?
Yes, we should.
Awesome.
I'm so excited.
All right, let's get into it. Okay, so thanks so much for coming all the way from Washington.
I
to
know.
join us. No, I'm just kidding.
Such a long way.
What are you here for?
So it is my good friend's birthday. He has this fabulous black tie event every year. I'm here. I can't miss it. And I try to pack in everything I can into one New York trip. He is the CEO of Four, which is an influencer marketing platform, and has really grown and been very successful. I'm very proud of him.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad that we could just tack on this little conversation.
I know.
So Paula is an advisor for Rodeo, and I don't know, you went to school for journalism? You're really blessed in the writing department.
Thank you. Yes, I did media communication for undergrad, and then graduate school I did journalism.
Okay. And so we'll get to where you are today, but why don't we start from the beginning?
Okay.
Paula has a website. She has her, own following, and there's all these different things that you have your hands in different buckets, which is actually starting to be this theme between all the creators. But let's hear how you got to today.
Yeah. So coming out of undergrad, I think communication was just this like pie in the sky for everyone. I think a lot of people in my major got out and were like, what do we do now? It wasn't super specific. And I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I jumped into the nonprofit field, honestly, just because I knew someone, and worked my way up, worked for 2 different nonprofits that were great national organizations, learned a lot because they throw you into the mix and you wear a lot of hats in nonprofit, obviously. But then year 4.5, I thought, okay, I'm either going into a career of nonprofit or it's time to make a pivot and get out. And I've always been a creative person. My grandmother is an interior designer. I learned a lot of what I know from her. She's French. She started out doing window displays in Paris. So she's extremely talented. I attribute a lot of my knowledge of interiors and fashion to her.
Quel chic.
Yes.
That's how chic.
But I wasn't using that side of my brain. And it was time to make a switch. So I owned a magazine for a few years. It was a franchise that focuses on luxury lifestyle and luxury small business. And really loved it. I was stylizing shoots. I was writing. I was making relationships. I was doing social media and building out kind of a strategy for that for the company. And I really loved it. And I very heavily tied myself to that brand. And then when it was time to make a pivot again, I realized how closely I had tied my brand to that brand.
Can I just ask you one thing? So what year was it that you owned this franchise and doing this?
That was like 2012 to 2015.
Okay, so I feel like 2012, because that was right when I was starting my career as well. Like social media was just becoming a thing. And so like you shift from nonprofit into editorial publications. And how did you go about even starting to build that brand and that presence on social media? Because I'm sure that you were probably trailblazing that from the beginning.
I was familiar with the publication, and when I realized it was a franchise, I thought, okay, I want to give this a go. But as we all know, print media was and still is deteriorating. And I thought there needs to be a supplemental way to do this, because a lot of it is, focused on advertising dollars. And a lot of them were saying this isn't just the print magazine isn't enough for me. So I built out a strategy for social media, grew the following fast, and just kind of created a way for these small businesses that don't have time to do content creation, that don't have time to do brand strategy, a way to not only advertise in the publication, but help build their content, their social following, and their awareness on Instagram.
You'd done a lot with this franchise, and then you felt like you had kind of tied yourself too much to that business. Can you elaborate on that? I want to hear about that.
So yeah, towards the end, it was just, I knew it was time to kind of make a pivot, but I had tied my personal Instagram to that publication heavily. So it was an kind of overnight rebrand, re-strategy, new website name. Because as soon as I decided to sell, I was going to hand that off. And then my brand was dead.
Oh, so that business was kind of all branded under your name.
It had its own Instagram, but I had really tied myself as the editor to that publication. And I realized once I sell that and once it goes, then what's my relevance as far as this social media platform is concerned? So I did a complete rebrand and just branded it under my name.
Okay, so what did it look like? It's interesting. I did not know that history of then really establishing yourself as Paula Dhier, separate and apart from your career. How did you even begin that kind of separation? And did it look a lot like what you had been doing with the magazine, or was it truly a rebrand?
It was similar. The publication was really focused on luxury lifestyle. I feel like that was a good transition into my own, but I was very focused on travel. I was focused on different brands that weren't necessarily local. I wanted to kind of create more of a relatable platform as far as accessibility to items and products and brands and hotel chains and things like that people could use and replicate into their own lives.
So you were building kind of like a discovery platform that you were recommending to people with brands and experiences that you were recommending to people. So, okay, so I know now you have pauladhier.com, which is like, it seems a lot of like your content from various platforms that you make shoppable. And then you have Paula Dhier Home. I want to know more about Paula Dhier Home.
Yeah. So I got a little more into design within the past, I'd say 10 years. And people always wanted to know if I would come do their homes and come actually be their designer and decorate. And I didn't necessarily have time to do that. That was still in the mix of, I had let the magazine go. I still had some of those clients I was hanging on to. I had launched the blog and my personal brand, and I was just spread thin on time. So the thought was, what if I could build my own brand and my own shoppable experience that people could come and say, while I don't have the time to design your home, you can shop these pieces and these items that I've either hand selected from travels that I've been on, or that I'm hand selecting all these brands that I choose to carry.
Okay.
So that was kind of the birth of the home store and now the e-commerce brand of, while I don't have the time to make it personal, I could kind of make it personal.
And so are you owning the inventory? I was always curious, like, how is that store, how does that function?
So I had a physical store for a few years, and then when I moved out of South Carolina, it went to e-commerce. But yes, I own all of the product that's on the website.
And I have noticed that it's like very timeless product, so it's probably not like nerve-wracking that you own that inventory. It's like great coffee table books. It's like side table stuff. Inventory definitely shrunk when it went from a full store to just, now it's like just a storage unit of things. But the brand discovery, I think, is still there. A lot of them are pieces that, timeless, will never change. Hopefully brands people have never heard of that I discovered in a random town in France that are really cool, and these artists that wouldn't have been brought to America if I had not found them on random travels. Something that I'm excited to do this summer. My grandmother is actually looking to downsize. So she's asked me to kind of run a personal estate sale for her. Oh my God, I want to go. Or
it's going to be, I'm going to do it all online for her. Wow. And this is a woman that's been collecting for 50 years. So it's exciting. I can't wait to go through everything she has.
That's amazing.
I have like memories of us watching Antique Roadshow, and they would like go through an item and they'd be like, this is, this rare item, it's $4,000. And my grandmother would be like, do you see it over there? I have that. And it was just like fascinating that she had all of these like random beautiful objects that are...
Wait, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So do you think a lot of like, I want to get into your like personal brand and, but like, do you think a lot of your inspiration for, I don't know if it's your personal brand or the home, e-com or store that you've built comes from your grandmother?
I think a lot of it does. She's very French country with her style, but a lot of things are so classic. I think I've learned a lot of foundations from her. Something she told me very early on when I was starting to design houses and design rooms, she said, watch what you're doing, because certain things look like everything's floating. You have to anchor a room. There needs to be something antique. There needs to be something solid. There needs to be something with some history in this room. And I think that that's something a hump I had to get over as I went through a stage of like everything has to be new and like this fresh designer. And now I really look to discover pieces and the history of pieces and incorporate vintage items into the design.
So I'm trying to grasp, like, what do you mean everything looks like it's floating?
Everything looked like, she said, it looks too like a showroom. Like everything's too she said, it looks like everything's floating. She's
Like kind of
"You
like in
need
my
to-"
apartment, everything's
No. She's like, you need to solidly anchor it with something that you know just like has bones to
Like
it.
each room.
And history to it, each room. And I try to look for that now. But I definitely know the history of pieces. I remember going through flea markets with her and her saying, that's fake, that's real, that's fake. And it was fascinating to me that she knew all these things right off the bat. So I think a lot of my just knowledge comes from her, even though our style and taste don't exactly align. But something that I've carried on throughout, I think, houses and fashion and everything is I am bothered when everybody has the same thing. When I can walk into someone's house and say, I know where you got that light fixture. I know where that rug is from. I've seen that pillow in 14 other people's homes. That just irks me, that I want people to be able to discover things that no one else has. So when I first started, a big thing for me was bringing stuff back from Paris flea markets and saying, I only have one. And I would story it before I even loaded my suitcase because a lot of it was coming over hand carried by me. And it would all be sold before I even landed back in the States because I really wanted people to have something that was unique and one of a kind.
Wow. That's really cool. And so before we get into like where your career is today, I feel like there's been, so much, you've built out this whole personal brand. And obviously that was something that really struck me from the second that, she joined the wait list, which we were very honored by. But everything, and I feel like, I really appreciate branding after my experience at Ralph Lauren, because I remember right off the bat, like it was like shocking, and I would be kind of like annoyed by how meticulously everything was branded. But now, of course, 10 years, 12 years out, you're like, well, that's why he's, built this brand that's lasted, 50 plus years. Talk us through, like what inspires this brand? There's a moodiness to your photos. I want to know everything.
Yeah, it's, I think one of my favorite sayings is I like it, I bought it, I put it in my house. Like, that's just like,
I like it, you want it,
I like it, I bought it, I put it in my house. It doesn't, I think
like
people,
an Ariana Grande song. No, I'm just kidding.
I think people get sometimes so stuck on trends or does it flow? And I'm like, do you like it?
Yeah.
If you like it, then it will work. I think that's actually a quote from Jonathan Adler is, if you like it enough, it will fit. It will work. You will make it work. And I take that through with fashion and home is sometimes you have to ignore like what's happening or what people are doing, or some trends will look ridiculous on you. And you just have to stick to, I like this, I'm going to do this. And I think that that's true in everything I do and branding. And, but I do like things to the aesthetic to look clean, to look fun, to look different. And that goes through like different fonts and different, I don't want to have seen it before. And I think that's what stuck out to me about Rodeo. When I saw it for the first time, I said, I haven't seen anything like this before. Wow. And I want to know more of what this is.
What inspires you? Who inspires you?
I've always loved, even if it's not my style, I love when there's something interesting that catches my eye in a room or whatever it may be. So when I'm looking through estate sales or when I'm looking through flea markets, I'm like, that matches my aesthetic. It matches my color scheme, but I've never seen that before. So whether it's a piece of art or whether it's a chair, I'm like, I like things that are visually and structurally interesting, but it doesn't need to kind of fit in with everything that I'm doing.
So basically you just have to have taste.
And like, as far as who I'm interested in or who inspired by, I have always said that I really love the Olsen twins.
Okay.
I really love the Olsen twins because I can look at a photo of them from 2016. It's still chic. It's still chic. And I think that they pick pieces that look good now. They'll look good in 20 years.
Do you think Passport to Paris was chic?
No, I don't. But I doubt that they said, this is how I want to style it.
Yeah, no.
But when they have creative direction, the row is, I don't own a lot of row pieces because I don't have the budget for it, but it is a dream closet for me because they are structurally different. They're well made. They're interesting. They make you pause. And again, you don't see it every day. And that's what I'm driven by.
And I feel, okay, so then one thing I do that does stick out to me about your style is the way that you'll like rewear pieces. Like I think I've seen a picture of you and I think it was a Porsche campaign, and it's the pants that you were wearing when we met a month ago.
Yeah.
And I just like noticed it because they were up on Rodeo. But every time you wear it, it feels fresh. It feels different. Like, I'm now noticing it only because I'm looking out for it. But what are these staples? Like, tell us the staples that we need, because you do find those and like you really nail them and you make them versatile.
I think that's one thing I told you early on that I got really frustrated by with the creator economy and specifically fashion influencers, is that it was such a quick move through, all these new arrivals or all these pieces that are brand new. And I get frustrated when I go to give something away or to consign an item, because I'm like, why am I not in love with this for the entirety of my closet? I try to learn from the pieces that I am giving up. And the pieces that have stuck around in my closet for years and years. They're similar in brand, they're similar in color scheme, and there's something, like I said before, structurally different about them. But I kind of focus more on things that I can dress up or down that are extremely versatile. I pack light. Usually, like when I'm traveling, it's a carry-on unless I'm, it's the dead of winter. But my coats are basic. And again, back to like, it's the same brands that are making things that are timeless.
Yeah.
And I can probably name my top 5 brands in my closet that I've held on to the longest.
Okay, tell us.
Sandro Paris makes incredible coats. And I know that about them. So every time I'm in Paris, there's an outlet that I go to in Marais.
Oh, wow.
And I will get one coat. It's my present to myself. But they're extremely discounted, and I will have that coat for years because I have had their coats for years. I think that Rag & Bone is a very timeless brand.
I was not expecting that.
Really?
Just from I don't know. I wasn't expecting that. I have some in my mind. I have my list of.
I would say my basics, my really good shirts, my bodysuits, some of my blazers are Rag & Bone, and I've had them for years. One of my button downs, my white button downs, that is a little structurally different, has like ties here, and then it has like some different fabric in the middle. Everyone always asks me what that is. It's Rag & Bone, like 2011, and it's just
you are so good about
around.
Like really keeping your stuff.
I have to hold on to it.
Sustainable, no more fast fashion.
I know. ALC is another one.
I saw that. So I actually saw in your story you were listing out ALC, and I found that the Real does not take ALC. Have you noticed that? Well, I guess you're not selling back your ALC because you love it.
I love their things so much because they're structured well, they're made well. I can dry clean them literally for years. One of my favorite skirts is ALC 2010.
Before we get into you and Rodeo, because that is going to be my favorite part.
Yes.
I love what you're doing today, the startup that you're working for. And I feel like they definitely deserve a spotlight because it's it's a really interesting take on how you guys are leveraging the power of influence.
Yeah. Similar to when I saw Rodeo and said, I haven't seen this before. When I saw this come across LinkedIn, I thought, wow, this is a thought I've had in my mind so many times since someone actually did it. And it's incredible. So I work for a tech startup called Urban Legend. And we are a platform that deals with campaigns based on issues and causes and never products. And that, similar to what I said before about I got very tired of influencers pushing product for the sake of pushing product. I think that this is an amazing way for influencers to shift their topic of conversation, to have other options besides pushing product all day long. So we run paid campaigns for nonprofit organizations or whoever needs to get an idea across. So it's a cost per action platform. So we work off of either clicks to an informative landing page, petition signatures, letters to lawmakers, or video views. And we do everything from mental health to the environment, to parenting issues, safety online, all sorts of different issues. So I work with a wide range of creators every day who are passionate, who usually when I talk to creators, they're like, thank God there's like something out there like this, because I do have a voice. I do care about things. I want to talk about these things. And we kind of are able to handhold them and say, this is how to do it. We educate them on the issue if there needs to be any education. We talk to them about speaking authentically. We never script them because we would never want to do that. And I think that's another breath of fresh air because they're so used to being scripted and told what to post, how to post, what to do, that they get to do it all on their own, and speak about things in a way they want to talk about them. And we kind of give the power back to creators.
And so you're finding them like truly like through this organic, like you can see that they have an attachment to some mission or some social cause, or
a lot of the time we find them because they've already talked about an issue organically. Whatever it may be, they've already spoken on it. And so we know that the passion is there and they'll be able to talk on something, again, authentically. And it's when we approach lifestyle fashion bloggers that have never spoken on any issue, they're a little surprised as to, oh, this exists. This is something I've always wanted to do. I have all of these issues I really care about. And they've just never given it a shot.
they kind of have like not really had a voice, right?
I think with millennial influencers, it was not a thing. You stuck with your niche, you talked about whatever it was, and you didn't really stray. But now Gen Z came along and they are very vocal and they speak up when things don't make sense. They talk about things they care about. And it's been very empowering for the older creator that started out, 2010, 2012 era to say, maybe we can talk about this. Maybe we're expected to talk about this now. And I think it's becoming, again, more of an expectation of authenticity than anything else. But the more creators do it, the more you're empowering other creators to do it. So I encourage anyone that's listening that has never spoken out on things you care about to do that, because you will be very surprised at the positive feedback you get.
Well, I love that. And I think that it's such a powerful business model in the sense that it's truly about driving this awareness around like whatever it is, the petitions, electing someone to office or pharmaceutical approvals, whatever it is. It's about action and not about buying something. And I think that it's really cool that you guys have empowered creators to stand for things that they believe in and not about, buy.
Yes.
And not like bye.
Yeah. It's so refreshing to just, I think that's why followers are around. And I think that this applies to Rodeo too, is they want a behind the scenes feel. They want to know who that creator is and what makes them tick. And you can't do that without knowing their opinions on things or what makes them who they are.
Right.
And that goes from everything as to what's in their closet to, what's on their mind.
Okay, so let's get into you and Rodeo. And you've already kind of given us the intro of what attracted you initially, but you recently wrote kind of like this brand voice document that really helped us a lot. And a few things that stuck out to me, and I was speaking to Livy about this earlier, was just your eye for this need of like community and creative collaboration. And you said so perfectly in this brand voice document that we're creating this curated corner of the internet. And I just want to hear about your experience on Rodeo. You've kind of like you've been a huge part in like kind of like keeping us moving ahead of like, let's make this immersive. Let's like really understand who's behind the content. So, tell us about you on Rodeo.
So yeah, like you said, I think initially I was attracted by aesthetics, and I'd never seen anything like that before. That's what attracts me to everything in life, is just the uniqueness of a product or a person. So I think what you're doing with Rodeo is great because it's curating people that you naturally just want to know everything about, like how they tick, what makes them work. And it's attracting them, you're attracted to them because of their creative work. That I want to know the person behind who created this amazing living room, or who painted this incredible piece of work, or who photographed this amazing editorial shoot. I think most times that's just a really cool person. So I want to know what's in their closet, what they ate for dinner, where they ate for dinner, what book they're reading, what's in their headphones. I want to know what makes that mind create that piece of work.
Yeah.
And I was fascinated by Rodeo, and that's exactly what you're doing. It's this incredible group of people who are amazing in their own right, that aren't influencing just to influence.
Yeah.
It's a very crowded space now. And I think like most people on Rodeo, I didn't get into this to sell you a top. I got in this to curate a lifestyle, to share with you what I truly love and what I like. And a lot of that has been in my closet for 15 years.
Right.
I'm not your Nordstrom anniversary sale person.
Yeah.
Let's curate a life that is of your personal brand and style, and is a lifelong representation of who you are.
I love that.
Not here's what's on sale this week.
Right. Oh, I love that. Okay, Paula, you have what, like almost 200,000 followers. You put a lot of your life, not too much of your life. You put a lot, you share a lot with the world.
Try.
But there's got to be something that people just don't know about you that that you would be willing to share with us today.
There's so much people don't know about me.
I know, but like, tell us something like good. Like, that's like, oh, we got it.
I cry in SoulCycle.
Do you? Oh my God, that's cute.
All the time. Like, even at home. Like,
'Cause
I
it's
get
that emotional
so
release.
Emotional. It's an emotional release. It's a creative
The
release.
endorphins.
The endorphins.
Yeah.
It's like me time. If I don't cry on a SoulCycle bike, something's off. I just like...
Oh, you cry every time?
Not every time, but like I get a little tear.
I just cry like at the thought of going to work out.
I think like as a single mom that has a full-time job, who's parenting, like it's such a cherished moment that like I am so thankful for that time, that I'm working out so hard that it's like, again, like an emotional release. But I get frustrated if I don't have time to work out, or if I don't have time to be creative. So I really try to make time for it. If, she goes to bed early, if I'm up for another hour, I'll sometimes do like 5 TikToks or sit there and do a blog post or whatever it may, or do a Rodeo post. So I feel like sometimes if I just need to take like 5 minutes, it's 5 minutes to go be creative. So that's, I need that time.
Okay, final question before we wrap this up. What is the email that you dream of waking up to tomorrow?
Ooh. I would say a collaboration with one of my favorite brands.
Okay.
I love designing. I love working that creative part of my brain. So doing a true collaboration, whether it be home or fashion, that would be a dream email of, we love your style. We have this line coming up. We want to do it together.
Manifest it.
Yes.
Do you have like 2 brands
Putting
that you
it
want to
out
put out in the
into
universe?
The universe. I would love to do a lighting collaboration, because that is something that I like. I'm super specific about light fixtures, and like I can tell you the brand. Like if usually with hotels, like that's Arteriors. I know what the brand of the light fixture is. And I love when I see something I've never seen before. That excites me. If I walk into like this new boutique hotel, I'm like, oh my God, a fixture I haven't seen. So I think like something in lighting would be so much fun. That, and these are going to be 2 home examples, that and rugs. Would love to do a rug collaboration. But outside of that, like all of my top 5, like amazing fashion brands.
All right. Well, we'll manifest it.
Yeah.
Paula, thank you so much for joining us today, but also just like everything that you have added to this rodeo journey. You definitely epitomize like who we're building for, and we're super excited to have you alongside us. So we'll be seeing a lot more of you, and
I love being here. I love being a part of this team. So thanks for having me.
Awesome.